Give me a moment. Your appointment has been successfully rescheduled to June 9th at 1 p.m. You'll receive an email confirmation shortly. Is there anything?
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Quincy. I'm the founder of Good Looking AI, and we offer voice AI solutions to businesses to help them streamline operations, and we also provide technical guides to help new developers create powerful voice AI automations that they can showcase to potential clients. For today's video, I have a special one. I'm going to be walking you through on how to build a complete AI voice appointment center on Vapi that can book appointments, reschedule appointments, and also cancel appointments. And we'll do this by integrating with the booking tools such as Cal.com. And we'll also use Airtable for our CRM. This is going to be a good one, so be sure to stay to the very end. Take notes and build this with me so that you have a tangible blueprint that you can showcase to potential clients to help you lock in more deals. With that said, let's jump right into it. Okay, so before we start developing the AI assistant, first let's look at an overview of the architecture, the design of how we're going to be able to make the solution to work. Before I start any project, especially when I start any development phase or process of the project, I always like to lay the groundwork first just to make sure everything is organized. What's the structure, what's the flow, what's the variables I'm going to be working with, how are the make scenarios going to be configured. Doing this step before development is just going to save up a lot of time and also reduce any technical just confusions or difficulties later on down the line. So it's always good to spend a good chunk of your time prior to development to really lay the blueprint and the groundwork of how to implement the solution. So here I have a FigJam file just breaking down everything on how the AI assistant is going to operate. So here I have a workflow, and it's going to start off by a user calling in to the AI assistant. So we'll be building the AI voice assistant on Vapi, and here the AI assistant is going to recognize the intent of the user that's calling in. So if the intent is to book an appointment, and then the AI assistant is going to collect the variables that we need in order to make this whole system work. So the variables that we're going to collecting is going to be the name, the preferred date and time for the user to book their appointment in, their service type, their phone number, and their email. But just to kind of really go down the flow, so the AI assistant is going to collect the name, it's going to store that in the name variable. AI assistant then is going to collect the preferred date and time, store that in preferred date and time variable, and then the service type, we're going to store that in service type variable. And then here we're going to create a tool, check availability, which is going to connect to make.com via a webhook, where we're going to look into the calendar by integrating with Cal.com so that we can see if the user's selected date time is indeed available. If so, we're going to return that response back to the user, let them know like, hey, the time's available, or if not, it's going to provide alternative times. Once we have that step done, and then the AI assistant is going to collect their phone number, store that in the phone variable, collect their email, store that in the email variable, and then we're going to call our book appointment tool. Again, it's going to connect through to make via a webhook, and then we're going to book the appointment into the Cal.com calendar, or we're going to book it into the calendar by using Cal.com's APIs, right? And then that's going to relay a confirmation message back, and then the Vapi assistant is going to relay that confirmation message to the user, and then that's going to be the end of that flow. Next is if the user calls in and the intent is to reschedule their appointment, same thing, AI assistant is going to collect their name, store that in the name variable, collect their email, store the email variable, collect the user's desired rescheduled date and time. We're going to store that in rescheduled date and time variable. And then we're going to call our reschedule appointment tool. And then in Cal.com, we're going to query for the appointment by the user's name and email. And then we're going to update their appointment date time for their booking. We're going to get a response back, and we're going to relay that response to the user via a confirmations message. And then that's going to be the end of that flow. And then if the user calls in and their intent is to cancel their appointment, AI assistant is going to collect their name, collect their email. We're going to call this cancel appointment tool. We're going to query Cal.com for their booking by the name and email once we locate the booking, and then we're going to cancel it and then we're going to get a response back. We're going to relay that confirmation message back to the user, and that's going to be the end of that flow. So all these purple little parts of the flow are the tools that we're going to be using, and we'll be creating the automations on make.com. Now, these are going to be our make scenarios that I just described right here. So we have the check availability, we have the book appointment, we have the reschedule appointment, and then we have a cancel appointment. So just to go into the check availability scenario flow. So the data properties that we're going to be passing to this scenario. So we're going to be passing the preferred date and time, and we're going to send that to a webhook on Make. And then we're going to make an HTTP request to Cal.com so that we can get all the bookings for the user's preferred date and time. Now, we know that if there is no booking for that date time and then it is available, and then we want to return a response back using a webhook response back to Vapi so that we can let the user know that it is available. Now, if we search for bookings for this date and time and we do get a booking, that means that it's not available. So we want to provide alternative times. And the way we're going to go about it is we're going to use a GPT module. So we're going to create start and end times near the user's desired appointment time. And we're going to check for all the bookable slots in between that time frame, right? So once we have the start and end time, we're going to check the bookable slots. We're going to make an HTTP request to Cal.com, get all the times in between the start and end time. And then we're going to use the GPT module, and we're going to create a JSON string with open slots near the user's preferred date and time. And we're going to return those options back to Vapi with a webhook response so that we can give the user alternative times close to the desired time that they want to book in for. So that's going to be the check availability workflow. Now for the book appointment, the different data properties that we're going to be sending to the webhook to make this work is going to be the preferred date and time, the name, the service type, the phone, and the email. So we're going to send all that data to a webhook, and then we're going to make an HTTP request to Cal.com to create a booking. And then we're going to send out an email confirmation to the user of their scheduled appointment time. And then we're going to send a webhook response back, letting the user know that their appointment has been successfully booked. And then at the end of that workflow, we will add the user to the CRM. We'll add them to Airtable by creating a record. And then the next scenario is going to be rescheduled appointment. The data properties that we're going to be working with is the rescheduled date and time, the name, and the email. We'll send that data to a webhook, and then we'll make an HTTP request to Cal.com, and we want to look for the bookings that matches the name and email of the user that's calling in. Once we find the booking, and then we want to update the appointment booking with the new user's rescheduled date and time. Then we're going to send out an email confirmation letting the user know that their appointment has been successfully rescheduled. We're going to also relay back a confirmations message to the user, and then we will also find the customer in our Airtable CRM, and then we'll update their status and also update their appointment date and time. And then the last flow is the cancel appointment scenario. So we'll be working with the data properties of name and email. We'll send that data to a webhook. Again, we will make an HTTP request to Cal.com. We want to look for the bookings that matches the name and the email. Once we find that, and then we're going to cancel that booking, send an email confirmation out to the user. Also on the call, provide them with a confirmation for their canceled booking. And then again, we will search for the customer in our Airtable CRM, and then also update their status to canceled. So this is going to be pretty much the flow of how we're going to make this whole appointment booking system work to be able to book, reschedule, and also cancel. So hopefully that provided a lot of clarity of the architecture of the system and how it's going to be designed. Now that we have that out the way, we can bounce to the next step and start configuring our AI assistant on Vapi. All right, so now I'm on Vapi. If you're new to Vapi, it's a development platform that allows people to get AI assistants up fairly quickly. If you don't have an account, I have a link below down in the description so that you can sign up, create a free account, and you'll be given free 1,000 minutes so that you can test out and call your voice AI assistants and build this out at no cost. If you don't have an account, go ahead and access that link, create your free account. If you do have an account, awesome, log in and we'll get started. Now, once you're logged in, you want to navigate to this open dashboard. You'll be taken to this screen, and we want to click on the Assistants tab, create an assistant, and I'm going to name mine's Ava Appointment Setter, and we're going to select a blank template and then create assistant. Now, for the provider, we're going to leave it at OpenAI, and for the model, we're going to switch this one to the the GPT-4o mini cluster. This is going to be the fastest and cheapest model to use. And if you're a little unfamiliar with latency, so right now the latency is at 1,000 milliseconds. Now latency is going to be the lag between the user getting a response back from the AI model. So typically we want this as low as possible. So if I hit publish, we can see it drop down to 840 milliseconds, which is good. We want to keep this low. Ideally, if we can keep it under 1,000, that'll work really well. Now, for the first message, this is going to be the intro message that the AI assistant is going to say every time it answers the phone. So I'm going to leave it as something like, thanks for calling Quick Notary. This is Ava, an AI assistant. How can I help you today? And then for the system prompt, I already have my prompt set up. I'm just going to paste that in right here. And I'll provide a link below down in the description so that you can have access to the system prompt and also have access to the FigJam file that I broke down in the previous step so that you can use as your reference. So I set up the system prompt to have date and time context for the PST time zone. So if you're on the East Coast or if you're in Mountain Time or Central Time, you're gonna wanna go ahead and just modify this so it's accurate for your time zone. I also set up this system prompt to work with all the variables that we have defined in this workflow. So the name, the preferred date time, service time, email, rescheduled date time is all going to be set up, and also all the tools that we need to work with in order to connect with Make to run the automation is all going to be set up in this system prompt. So we have the check availability, book appointment, reschedule appointment, and also cancel appointment. So go ahead and access that link, paste in the system prompt, and we'll move forward. Now for the files, we're not going to select any files or any knowledge base, and we'll just focus on the actual booking feature. Now max tokens, we'll leave it at 250, and then the temperature, I'm going to drop this to a 0.2. So the higher we have the temperature, the more creative the AI assistant's going to be. The lower we have the temperature, the more predictable the AI assistant's going to be. So having it at like 0.2, it's going to be very predictable and it will likely stick to the script more. Now for the voice configuration, I'm going to switch this one to 11 labs, and then I'm just going to leave it at Sarah since I'm using a female's name. So I'm going to leave it at Sarah, and then also transcriber, we'll just leave that. Now for the tools, let's set up all the tools that we have defined in our blueprint. So we have the check availability tool, the book appointment tool, reschedule appointment, and also cancel appointment. And another reason why I like to create this blueprint before I start developing out, creating the Vapi assistant, also the make scenarios, is because here everything's organized and we know all the data properties, parameters that we need to work with to make this tool work. So again, it's just going to save us up time when we start developing out the AI assistant, right? So for the check availability tool, let's create that one, and we know we're going to be working with the preferred date and time. So let's go to the tools tab. Let's create a tool function, and this is going to be check availability. And then this tool will check the calendar. For the user's requested booking time. And then the parameters, we're going to add a property. It's going to be the preferred date time. It's going to be of type string. This is the date and time the user would like to book an appointment for. And then we're going to mark this as required. And then when we create our scenario on Make, and then we'll update the server URL so it knows exactly where to send this data to. So let's just hit apply, let's hit save, and let's create our other tools that we have set up. So the next one is going to be book appointment. This tool will book the appointment and for the user's booking time. And then now for the parameters, we're going to add some properties in. So we go back, we're going to be using the preferred date and time, the name, the service type, phone, and email. So let's go ahead and set up these properties. So it is preferred date time, which can be of type string. This is day and time the user would like their appointment for. Again, mark this as required. Let's hit apply. Let's add another property. This is going to be name. Name of the user. Mark this as required, hit apply, and then also add in the email. Again, mark as required, hit apply, and then now let's do the service type. This is the type of service that the user needs. Mark this as required, hit apply, and then I believe we have one more, which is the phone, I believe. So we have preferred date time, name, service type, phone, any email. So we have to add in the phone. This is the phone number. This is required of type string, and then let's hit apply. So we have all of the parameters all set. Again, we will add the server URL in later once we start setting up our scenario on make.com. So now let's save, and then let's also create our other tool, which is reschedule appointment. So reschedule appointment. This tool will reschedule the appointment with the user's new appointment date and time. And then also for the parameters, we're going to be working with the name. The name of the user, mark it as required, and apply. Oops. We're going to add in the email. Mark this as required, apply, and then this one is going to be rescheduled date, time. This is the new date and time we would like to schedule in for. Okay. We're gonna mark that as required, and that should be all the parameters that we need to set up for this tool. So now let's hit save and then create another tool. This will be our last tool. This will be the book or cancel appointment. This tool will cancel the user's appointment. Okay. And then this one, the parameters that we need is the name. It's the name of the user. Mark it as required, hit apply, and then also we need the email. Email the user, let's mark it as required, and I believe that is it. So now that we have all the tools created, we need to connect the tools to our AI assistant. So we're going to go back to the assistants tab, go to our assistant, navigate to tools, and let's select all the tools that we just created. So we have the check availability, book appointment, reschedule appointment, and cancel appointment. So now that we have that set, let's go ahead and hit publish. And again, let's just make sure that we have all the tools set up. Okay, so it looks good. So we have check availability, book appointment, reschedule appointment, and cancel appointment. So everything is looking good right there. So now let's see. I believe that's everything that we need to set up right now. Oh, but it looks like I did not save this part. So I'm going to just add this in. All the tools, we have the system prompt, we have the correct model set up. Now let's jump over to Make and start connecting our tools. Okay, so now I'm on Make.com, which is an automation platform that's gonna enable us to do things outside of the Vapi platform. If you don't have an account, again, I have a link below in the description so that you can sign up, create a free account, and build this out at no cost. If you do have an account, perfect, log in and we'll get started. Now, once you're logged in, you're gonna wanna click on the purple create a new scenario on the top right, which I've already done so here. And then we're going to select a webhooks module and we're gonna choose custom webhook. Now we're gonna create a new webhook, and what this is gonna do, it's pretty much just gonna wait for any data that gets sent to the URL endpoint of this webhook. So we're gonna click on create a webhook. I'm gonna name this one Ava Appointment Setter. And then hit save. And then we're gonna be given this webhook URL. Now this right here, we're gonna copy this and we're gonna go back into Vapi and paste it into all of the tools that we just created so that Vapi knows exactly where to send the data to, which is going to be this URL or this webhook here. So let's go back to Vapi and let's go to the tools. So we're going to add the webhook URL that we just created to this cancel appointment, reschedule appointment, book appointment, and check availability. So I'm gonna paste that in right here just to make sure. PEJ, we have PEJ right here. I'm just gonna hit save, and then I'm going to hit save right here, and then same thing for reschedule appointment. Paste it in, hit save, book appointment, paste it in, hit save, and then also check availability, save it. Now, always remember to hit save. It's very easy to forget and it just does not save it, and it can be really frustrating whenever you're trying to test out your AI assistant and something's just not working. It's not calling the tool, or it's doing something that it shouldn't be. It's most likely because you just forgot to hit save somewhere. So be sure you always hit save after you do anything. So now that we have all these tools connected, now whenever we call a tool, or the Vapi assistant calls the tool, it's going to send the data to this webhook right here. So now we're going to be sending data to this webhook, but what data are we actually going to be sending? Well, if we go back to the flow diagram that we have discussed about earlier, so all the data that these tools are going to be using, it's pretty much going to be the preferred date time, the name, service type, phone, email, and then also rescheduled date time if we're trying to reschedule the appointment. So let's just set up our scenario on Make and organize it and establish variables for all the data properties that we're going to be taking into this webhook. So we're going to click on Tools, and we're going to set multiple variables. We're going to add an item. This first one is going to be the name. And then later we'll need to test out our AI assistant, send some data to this webhook so that we can map all the properties that we're getting and match it up with the variables. So we're going to add another one. This one's going to be email. This one's going to be phone. Preferred date time. Reschedule date time. Let me just make sure it's rescheduled. Yep, rescheduled date time. And then also we need service type. Okay, so now that I have all this set up, now I'm going to go back to Vapi. I'm going to just test out the AI assistant real quick, send over some data so that we can start mapping some of the data that we're getting to this webhook. Data that we're getting into the webhook. So this is going to be the payload. So we're going to go into message, tool calls, click on number 1, function. We can see that we called the tool check availability in the arguments. So as we have set up in our flow, so check availability is only working with the preferred date time property. So it is working good. So now what we can do is we can go into this and we can map the preferred date time that we're getting. So we go into tool calls. So we'll go into tool calls, we go into function. Take this out. Arguments and preferred date time. Cool. Now what we can do is start setting up the different routes. So we're gonna have all these tools, these scenarios, all in one environment so we can keep everything tidied and organized. So we're gonna use a router to start creating these different branches or paths based off of the tool that we're trying to call. So this first path, we're gonna set up a filter, and this is going to be check availability. If I can spell check correctly. Okay. Okay. Now the condition is going to be if the tool call name is equal to check. If it's equal to check availability, and then we want to continue down this path. And then the next filter that we need to set up is for a book appointment. Same thing, if the tool calls name is equal to book appointment. Actually, it should be like this. One thing to keep in mind is that the name, the value that you put right here, must 100% match the tool name that you had set up in Vapi. So I set it up as book appointment in camel case naming convention. So the first letter of the first word is lowercase, the first letter of the second word is uppercase. So just keep that in mind. And then we're gonna hit save, and then we're going to create another path. This should be for reschedule appointment. Reschedule appointment. If the tool call name is reschedule appointment. And then we want to continue down this path. Again, make sure that this is the same as the tool name that you had set up in Vapi. So we're going to hit save. And then the last path that we have is going to be cancel appointment. And then the tool call name is cancel appointment. And then we're going to continue down this path. Okay, perfect. So now that we have this set up, the next step is for us to start setting up this check availability path. Now, the way we're going to do it, if we go back to our flow diagram, so we have the webhook, we already set that up. We're going to make an HTTP request to cal.com to get all bookings for the time that the user wants. Now, if we don't get any booking for that time slot, we know it's open. If we do get a booking, meaning we're returning data that there is a appointment there, and then we're going to use the GPT module, generate start and end times. We're going to search for bookable slots in between those times, and we're also going to create a GPT module that's going to spit out a JSON string with open slots near the user's preferred time, and then we're going to return that back to Vapi so that it can let the user know of the different options. So the next step is for us to go to cal.com and start setting up our account, get our API key so that we can start integrating with their API. Now I'm in cal.com. I really like this platform because it easily allows us to integrate into their APIs and also book appointments. Again, I provided a link below in the description so that you create a free account. Go ahead and access that link, create your free cal.com account, and let's get started. Okay, so now I'm in my cal.com account, and these are the different types of events that I have. And one thing I want to point out is if you have any trouble whatsoever with building out this appointment setter, you can always schedule a call with me. It is a one-time $40, and I will help you debug or whatever, help you overcome any type of problem that you're experiencing. So yeah, this will be ideal if you want to jump on a call with me for some assistance for this tutorial or any other tutorials. You can go ahead and book here, and then I'll also provide that link below in the description. But these are the different types of meetings that we can set up. Cal.com, I believe, allows you to create unlimited meetings. I'm not 100% sure, but for this project, if you want, you can either use the secret meeting that it should come by default when you establish your account, or you can just create a new event and use that for this tutorial. For building out this appointment setter, I'm just going to be utilizing the secret meeting. So now that we have our account set up, now we want to navigate to their API docs. So you're going to want to go to cal.com/docs, and then we're going to navigate to the API v2 reference. So what API route do we actually need to hit? So we need to get the bookings. So we want to find, let's see, there should be like a get bookings or something like that. Okay, so we want to get all bookings. Now, in order to integrate with this API, we have this URL endpoint, and then we also have of type get, and we also need to provide a authorization API key, and then also the Cal API version. So to go about this, we're going to go back to make, and we are going to make an HTTP request, and we are going to select make an API key auth request. Now we can see that in the documentation, we need to provide in the headers an authorization and then also the token, right? Where it's bare space token. We also need to provide the Cal API version. So the way I like to go about it is in make, I like to use an HTTP make an API key auth request. The reason why is it's going to keep our API keys safe and secure and won't expose it, which is very important. You never want to expose your API key, right? So we're gonna go on to this, and we can see that I have different keychains. So it's going to be the Cal v2 API key, but I'm gonna just show you how to make this keychain. So you're gonna click on add. You're gonna name it like cal.com v2 API key, right? Because we want to be able to differentiate between V1 and V2. We're going to be making different API requests to the V1 and V2. And then the key, if we go back to the documentation, the key is bear space token, right? So in make, you want to put bear with a capital B, space, and then the token. And then where do you actually get your token? So if we go back to the cal.com account, and then just move this over real quick so you can see my screen. If we go to settings, and we go to developer API keys, and then you want to add a key, give it a name, and then you can put never expire, or you can set it up to expire after 30 days, whatever you want. And then you're going to be given the API key. It's very important that you copy that and paste that somewhere secure. So maybe like your notes or something like that, or write it down if you want, but you will not be able to see that again. So make sure that you give it a good name and then also store the API key somewhere. And then you're going to copy the API key that you just got, and you're going to paste it after the bear with a capital B, space, and then paste in your API key. And then if we look back at the documentation again, it says it needs to be in the headers. So make sure that you put API key placement in the header, and then the API key parameter name, it says it should be authorization. So make sure that you copy this and you paste it in right here. So I already have mine created, so I'm just going to select the cal.com v2 API key. So it's automatically going to place the API key in the headers, but keep it secure so it's not exposed. Now the URL, go back to the docs, we want to copy this and then paste it in right here. And then it also says it's of type get. We need to also provide in the headers the cal API version. So I'm gonna copy this, and then the cal API version needs to be this. So copy this, paste that in right there, and then now we can get all bookings. So query parameters. We don't want to just get all of the bookings that we have on our calendar. We want to get a very specific booking, right? Which is for a booking that's at the specific time that the user wants to request for. So we can use the query parameter of after start. So we only want to get bookings that start after the time that the user wants to book in for, and then also before a certain time as well. So we'll set that up right now. So we're gonna add that, copy this after start. We're gonna add in a query parameter, and we're gonna paste that in. And we want to check for events that start after, at or after the preferred date and time that the user wants to book in for. And then also we want to put in the before end, I believe. So copy this, and then this we want to add in a, let's see, we're gonna add minutes. And then we're going to place in right here the preferred date and time, and we're going to add 15 minutes because the, the event that we're going to be using is only 15 minutes long. So we want to check for appointments at that specific time that's in between the window of 15 minutes. This is going to allow us to see if there is a booking at the time that the user wants to request for. So now let's just hit save, and then now let's also rename it. I'm going to put cal.com again just to keep everything organized. Get all bookings, or we'll just put get bookings.
requested time. Okay, so now I know that I don't have a booking in for that time, right? So I'm going to run this module only, and then the preferred date time, let's do 2025, so 5:30, and let's see what I have for 10 a.m. Now, what I'm doing is I'm offsetting the time for PST, so you're gonna wanna find the proper time setup for your time zone. So I'm pretty much just checking if I have any appointments at May 30th at 10 a.m. In PST time zone, and we're gonna check for 10 a.m. all the way up to 10:15. So if I run this, we have a status code of 200, so it was successfully able to look into the calendar, and it looks like we're getting nothing. So we're not getting any appointments for that time. So we do know that it is available. Another thing I want to do is go back into the module and select parse response so that the data shows better. So I'm going to run this module again only, same thing, 2025. And then run this one more time. If we go into data, now it's cleaned up a little bit better. So it says data, the array is empty. Right? So now what we can do is we're going to set up a router, and we're going to create two paths. So this filter is going to be available. Now, if this data array is less than 1, so we're going to select this array operator. So if the array length is less than 1, meaning it's 0, that means that there are no appointments at that specific time, therefore it is available, and we want to return a response back to Vapi. So now we're going to hit save, and then we're going to use a webhook response. Now, the way we got to structure the response is it needs to be in JSON. So we're going to do results. And then I believe it's an array. And then double brackets. And then we have the tool call ID. And let's leave that blank because we'll need to map it to the tool call ID once we call the tool again. And then this is going to be result. Oops. And then here we're just going to put in the time you requested is available. Okay, perfect. Now, the second path is going to be not available. So now, if this array, we're going to use again another array operator, if the array length is greater than or equal to 1, that means that we do have a booking for that time. Therefore, now what we want to do is we want to create a start time and the end time so that we can check for other bookable slots close to the time that the user wants to book in for. So this is how we're going to offer alternative times to the user. So we're going to go about it by using a GPT module, and we're going to use this create a completion. Let's switch the model. I like to use the 4.1 mini system, and then the max tokens, we can just change this to 300. Let that load up, and we're going to add a message for developer system, and what we're going to put in right here. So I already have the GPT prompt set up. I'll also provide it in the link below in the description so that you can just copy it, paste it in so it can start working well for you. So I'm just going to paste mine in right now. Okay, so just to break this down for you guys, so your task is to take in as input the date and time that a user would like to book an appointment for. You will take in that input and create a JSON string with a start time and end time keys. No, start time shall be 1 hour prior to the date that you get in as input, and the end time should be 1 hour after the date you get as input. The values shall both be in PST time, so you're going to want to modify this to your time zone. Only output the JSON string with no explanation. So for example, if someone wants to book an appointment for the 27th at 11 a.m., it should output the 27th for 10 a.m. up to 12 p.m. So therefore we're looking an hour before and an hour after that they want to book an appointment for, see if there's any bookable spots in between those two times. So now that we have that, we want to create another message. This time it's going to be user. Again, it will be in the link below so that you can just paste it in with the preferred date and time. So the date and time the user would like to book an appointment for is this right here, which is going to be the preferred date and time that we're getting in from the webhook URL. And now what we want to do is show advanced settings, and we want the response to be in JSON object. We also want to parse the JSON response, and then the temperature, we want to keep it predictable, so let's leave it at 0.1, and then now let's hit save. So now what we can do is we can run this module only, give it a time, so let's do 2025 May 30 at, let's do 12. So it should create a start time of 11 a.m. and then the end time of 1 p.m. So let's just see what it outputs. Okay, so the result, start time 11 a.m., end time 1 p.m. So now we have this stored neatly in the start time and end time keys. So now let's just rename this so we're keeping it all organized, and let's set it to create start time and end time. All right. Okay, so now the next step is to get all the bookable slots in between that start time and end time that we just created with the GPT module. So again, we're going to create another module. We're going to make an API key auth request, and this time we want to hit the V1 API. So if we go back to the documentation, so right now we're in V2 reference, we want to navigate to this V1 reference, and we want to get all bookable slots. So it's going to be this one right here. So we have this URL endpoint. We can see that all we need to do is just provide the URL, but then we're also going to add some query parameters, which is going to be the start time and the end time, which says right here, it is required. Okay, so we're just going to copy this, go into this module, and then also switch this to the V1 key. Now we just made the V2 key, so we're going to need to make another one. So again, you're going to add, you're going to name it cal.com V1 API key. You're going to paste in the API key here, but first let's see what it expects. So it expects the API key in the query parameters. So the V2 key is expected in the headers, but this one is expected in the query parameters. So you're going to want to have API key. So let's go back. You're going to paste in the key that you have created earlier in cal.com. You're going to place it in the query string, and then also you want the API key parameter name to be this right here. Okay, and then you're going to just hit create. Now I already have mine made, so I'm just going to select the V1 API key. It's of type get, and then we want to also add in some query parameters. So again, we have the start time, hit paste, and then also this is going to be the value that we're getting from the GPT completion before, and then also we need the end time, and then we just map this to the end time that we're creating right here. But actually gotta put this down. Oops. Place it right there. And then now what we want to do is we also want to add another parameter. Now, because on cow.com, we have all these different types of events that we can work with, right? If we want to be specific, if we want to be specific about which event that we want to work with, we can go to that event. Now I'm going to be working with secret meeting, and right here we're given the event ID. So you're going to want to copy this, go back, and then just type in event type ID, and then paste that in right here. So it's going to check for the available slots that we can book for that specific event. All right. So let me just make sure that this is the correct name. So we have, let's see, event type ID. Perfect. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually toggle this parse response. Let's hit save. And then now let's run this again. So start time, let's do 2025, 5:30, 10 a.m. Oops. And let's put this for 12. So we're checking in between the times of 10 and noon to see what are the slots that we have open. Okay, so we're given all these available slots. Let's get all, let's actually name alternative bookable slots. Okay. Now what we want to do is create another GPT module, create completion. Now what this GPT module is going to do is it's going to take the list of available slots that we got back from cow.com, and it's going to find the two closest times that we should suggest to the user. So again, I'm going to provide the prompt down below in the link in the description. You can just paste that in. So I'm going to click on the GPT 401 mini, change this to 300. And then add a message. It's going to be developer system. I'm going to paste in my prompt. So just to break it down, so your task is to take in two inputs. First one is the date and time a user would like to book an appointment for, and the second input is an array of available slots to book for. You will find two available time slots to book an appointment for near the user's requested time, and output the options in JSON string. So the example output, so option 1, we have the first time, that's a good option, and we have the second option. And then we're going to add another message. This time it's going to be of type user. I'm going to paste it in right here. And then we want to map it to the data that we're getting back right here. Okay. So what it's going to do, it's going to access the array of all the bookable slots in between the time of 10 and noon. And then this GPT module is going to find the two best times to offer to the user. All right, so now that we got that, let's turn on show advanced settings. Should be a JSON object. We're going to parse response, and then we're also going to lower this temperature to 0.1. So now let's hit save. and let's rename this, and then just give this alternative, or find alternative. Oops. We're gonna go back in here. Oh no, actually I got it right here. Your task is taken. Oh, there is another message that I need to add. Again, it's going to be of type user. And this is going to be the date that the user wants to book in for. So it's going to be preferred date time. So the date time the user would like to book in for is the preferred date time. And then now we can hit save. So now let's run this module only. And the preferred date time, let's say is, oops. The 30th. Let's do, let's say they want to book in for 11:30. I'm messing this up. All right, so we have the 11:30 on the 30th, and let's just copy this, and then let's add in some times. So this one, let's make this 11. Let's make this one 12. And let's add another one that is just a time that's not close at all. So let's do like 2:30. So let's say we're checking for available times in between time zone or time slots, and the available times is 11. We also have 12, and we also have a 2:30. But the user wants to book in for 11:30. So it should suggest option 1 as 11 and then option 2 as at noon. So let's just run this. Let's go to result. So option 1, we have 11, and then option 2, we have 12. Perfect. So now we can create another webhook response that's going to go back to Vapi. Same thing, copy this, paste this in right here, and then it's going to be the time, or actually, the time you requested is unavailable, but we have, and then we're going to provide option 1 and option 2, and then ask them which time works best for you. Perfect. Now let's hit save. So now we have our check availability route set up. So the way it's working is we're going to get all the bookings for the time that they want to book in for. If we are not returning any data in the array, we know that that time slot is open, so we're going to let them know it's open. We're going to proceed to the second path and book them in. Now, if it is returning data in the array, meaning the array length is greater or equal to 1, we know that it's not available. There is an appointment there. Therefore, we want to generate a start time and end time near the user's requested time. We want to get the time slots in between that start time and end time, and then we're going to find the best slots to offer the user to, and we're going to return that back with the webhook response to Vapi so it can inform the user of the available options. So now let's set up our book appointment path. So if we go back to our flow diagram that we have, so the book appointment path, we're going to be working with the preferred date time, the name, service type, phone, and email. It's going to be sent to the webhook. We're going to make an HTTP request to create a booking. We're going to send an email confirmation, return that confirmation back to Vapi, and also lastly, create the user in our Airtable. So let's go ahead and start implementing that. So first, what we're going to do is we're going to, again, make an HTTP request. It's going to be make an API key auth request, again, just to make sure that our API keys are secure. And this time, we are going to be making a request to the, let me see, we're going to go to V2 reference and we're going to create a booking. So we got to find bookings. So create a booking. Now, the way we're going to integrate with this API is we have this URL endpoint, it's of type post. We need to provide in the headers the Cal API version, and then also we need to provide, let's see, the content type application JSON, and then we're going to have a request body, which is this right here. And then we can see that in the body we have 3 different options. We're going to do option 1. We need to provide a start time. We need to provide an attendee object, right? And that object includes the name of the attendee, the time zone of the attendee, email, and phone number. But the only requirement is the name and the time zone. And then also we'll provide the event type ID so that we know exactly what type of appointment that we're booking them in for. And I believe that should be everything that we need to work with this API route. Now, let's get this set up. So in the headers, we need the, we need the content type, application JSON. So let's just add this. Actually, let's start from the very top. Let's get this endpoint or URL. And paste that in right here. And then we're working with the V2. So we're going to select the V2 key. It's of type post because you're going to be sending data. And then in the headers, we need the content type. Let me just copy this whole thing. And then move this down to here. Right? And then we also need the, let me see, the Cal API version. Copy this again. And this value is going to be this right here. So now, because we are going to be creating an event, we are going to need to send data, which is going to be an object. So we're going to click for body type, it's going to be raw. Content type is going to be JSON. The request content is going to be where we're going to place the object that it says that we need to provide in order to hit this API route to create a booking. Now, the object that we're going to be using is going to be this. So we have the start. We're going to map this to the preferred date time, and then we're going to also map in the name of the user and then also the email. Now, time zone, I have mine set to America, Los Angeles. You're going to want to modify that as well for your specific time zone. I have it language set to English, and then the event type ID, which is going to be my secret meeting that I have right here. So 2.5. Go right here, 2.5, perfect. And then let's also parse response, and awesome. So now that we have that set up, let's just give it a better name. And then I'm just going to name this cal.com, create a booking. So now let's run this module only, and let's make sure that we can actually book appointments. All right, so we're gonna do 2025, 05/30 at, let's do 12. In the name, let's do Jane Doe. Email is my email right here. Now let's send it. Okay, we got status 201 and we got success. So now let me go to my Cal account and go to bookings. And we can see right here we have meeting between me and Jane Doe. So perfect, it's working good. We're able to book appointments. So now what we want to do is the next step is to send out an email confirmation to the user. So I use Outlook. You can also use Gmail. Use whatever platform and email provider that you use, but I'm going to use Outlook. So I'm going to select this Microsoft 360 email Outlook module, create and send a message. So notary appointment for, and let's just map in the name, body content. So I'm going to show advanced settings, and then I'm going to change this one to text, and then the body content will be this. And then let's just remap this to the values or the variables that we have defined in our tools. And then also provide in the preferred date time. And then we're going to format this date into month, day, year, and then also the time, just so it is organized in a way that's easier for our user to read when they're viewing their email. And then we also have this, if you need any additional assistance, they can reach out, and perfect. And then also the recipients, we need to add in the email and then also add in the name. And then that should be good. So let's hit save. And then now the next step is for us to send a webhook response back to Vapi so it can let them know that they've been booked in and that they're going to receive an email confirmation. So again, we'll choose a webhook response. We'll copy the JSON that we had set up right here and then paste that here. And then the result will say the appointment has been booked for, add in the preferred date time, and email will be sent. Actually, let's do an email confirmation. Will be sent. Perfect. Now let's hit save. And then now the next step is for us to create our customer in our CRM. But before we can set this up, we first need to create our Airtable account and get our CRM set up, which we'll start doing that right now. Okay, so now we're in Airtable. We'll be using this platform for a CRM to manage our appointments that we have gotten. And yeah, so you're going to want to navigate to Airtable. Again, I'll provide a link below in the description so that you can create an account, and you'll be prompted with steps in order to set up your workspace. And you can also utilize their template builder. The way I created this workspace was I prompted it to design a CRM to help me manage my customer appointments, and it automatically created a work environment. And if I navigate into it, I have this customer appointment CRM. And here I'm taken to a table. So it will automatically create a table. Now you're going to want to modify the column fields so it matches this. And yeah, so you'll have a customer's record or table, and then you'll also have appointments table. Now we'll mainly be using this customer table, but as we build out this scenario, you'll have a better idea of how you can interact and update various tables within your CRM or Airtable work environment. So we'll be using this one. So some of the fields that we have, so we have the full name, we have email address, we have phone number, appointment type, appointment date, and then also status. So go ahead and modify your fields so it's just like this, so that when we create the scenario on Make, it aligns and it works smoothly when you try to implement this out. So now that you have your Airtable account set up, let's navigate back to Make, and we're going to type in Airtable. And then what we want to do is click on Show More, and we are going to create a record. And a record is pretty much just us creating a customer. So we're going to create a customer in our CRM, in our table, right? So to go about it, if we go back to Make, right, you're most likely going to need to add a connection. So you're going to click on Airtable token or key. Once you click on that, you're going to navigate back to Airtable. You're going to click on the top right. That should have the first letter of your name for your account. You're going to click on account. And then you're also going to click on this API. So we're going to go to Developer Hub. And then we're going to create a token. And then you're going to create a new token. You're going to give the token a name, maybe like the name of your assistant, and then make whatever you want. And you're going to add some scopes. You're just going to add all of these scopes, right? So we want this API token to be able to read records, write records, comment, have access to schemas, and read the schema, write schema, all that stuff. So go ahead and just like add all these scopes in. And then as far as like the base, you're gonna add a base, and you're gonna add in the workspace that you just created, whatever it's named on your end, but you wanna add in the CRM that was generated when you create the Airtable account, right? So once you have that added in and all that stuff, and then you're gonna create token. Now you're gonna copy that token, and then you want to paste it into Make. So you're just gonna paste it right here, and then you're gonna hit save, which I've already done so right here. So I have my token key selected. So now we're gonna choose the base, and it's going to be the customer appointment CRM. And then we want to create a customer in our customers table. And then we can see we should have all the fields that we have set up in our customer table. So we have full name, email address, phone, appointment type, appointment date, and status. So we should have all that here. So now we can start mapping in the data from our variables. So full name is going to be name, email, phone number, phone, appointment type, it's going to be service type, appointment date is going to be the preferred date time, and status, we want this to be set to scheduled. Okay, perfect. And then now we can just hit save. And then let's also rename this so everything's organized. So we're going to be creating a customer. And then let's just make sure we can use this. So let's say I want to add in John Doe. at email.com. Let's say the phone number is a +1 619 787 7777. Okay, service type is basic notary, and then the date time, let's do 2025 May 30 10 a.m. and then let's hit okay. All right, so we got it scheduled. So now let's go back to our Airtable and let's just refresh this. And then now we see a John Doe, and we have their appointment date time, and it's also scheduled. So the appointment date time is formatted in a way that I don't like. So let's just go back into make, and then let's just fix this. So it should be, let's format the date, and then we're gonna do this one, month, day, year. Okay, so we're gonna place in right here the preferred date time, and then it should be month, day, year, and then also let's just add in a time too. So HH, and then perfect. So that should be good to go. All right, so now that we created our customer, they should show up in our table. Now what we want to do is set up our rescheduled appointment. So same thing, we are going to make an API request to cal.com. So make an API key auth request. And let's go to the documentation. So we're going to use the V2 reference, and we want to get a booking. Now let's navigate back to the Cal docs. We're going to be using the V2 reference, and we want to get all bookings. So we're going to copy this URL endpoint, and then also go back into here, paste that in, and then we want to use the V2 key, and it's of type get, and let's look at the requirements for us to get the booking. So we're going to need the authorization, which we're already doing, and we also need this Cal API version in the header. So let's add this. And then also get this value right here. And then let's see what else that we need to add. So it looks like we just need the authorization, which we have, the Cal API version, perfect. And then we also need query parameters, and we want to search for bookings by the attendee's email and also the attendee's name. So we're going to copy this. We're going to add some query parameters. So this one is going to be mapped to the name. And we're also going to add another parameter. This is going to be the attendee's email. And this is going to be mapped to the email. And then I believe that is pretty much all that we need. So we're just gonna parse response, and then let's hit save. Let's rename this so that we can just keep it organized. So it's gonna be cal.com, and it's gonna be get a booking. Okay, so let's run this. Let's pass it. I believe we have Jane Doe. And then email is jane.doe@gmail.com. Let's see what we get. We have status code 200, so I went through and we can see that, let me see, it's actually not showing it. Let me make sure I'm putting in the email correctly. So we have, oh, I put the wrong email. So let me rerun this one more time. So it's Jane Doe. Email is my email. Let's see. And then this time we should get that booking that we have. All right, so we got the booking right here for noon. Perfect. So now that we have the booking, the reason why we want to get this is because we're going to need the booking ID. So the reason why we want to get a booking is because we need a booking ID. And the only way to get that is for us to get that specific booking, right? So if we go into data right here, we're given this, where is it? It's this UID. So we're gonna need to use this so that we can reschedule the booking. So now let's create another module, another HTTP, make an API key auth request, same thing, V2 key. We're gonna go back to the documentation, V2 reference, and then now we want to reschedule a booking. So we can see right here that this is the URL or route endpoint. So we're going to need to provide the booking ID, which I just explained a moment ago. So we're gonna need that specific to reference that specific booking. So we're gonna copy this, and we're going to paste in that URL, and then we can just remove this and then also map it to the UID. So right there, perfect. And then it's of type post. And then if we look at the documentation, so we need again to provide the Cal API version. Which is the value is this. And then also, let's see, what else do we need? So we have the Cal API version, we have the booking ID. We don't have this, so let's add in this content type JSON because we're going to be sending data as an object. And let's just move this to right here. And then also we need body type, raw, and it is JSON. Now, the object that we need to provide in order to reschedule the booking is going to be this. And then let's just remap this to reschedule date time. So if we look at the API docs, it says the body requires a start time in ISO 8601 format. So that's very important to keep note, right? So this is the only thing that's required. So now what we can do is go back and let's also just parse response, and let's see, what else do we need to do? Let's hit save. So next, let's just rename this module so that we can keep everything organized. So I'm gonna name it cal.com reschedule booking. Now we have to send out an email confirmation to the user for their rescheduled appointment. So I'm going to use the Microsoft 365 email, and you can use Gmail. We're going to send a message, and for the subject, I'm just going to put notary appointment, and then we'll map in the name. Appointment with name. Just fix this P, and then body content, I'm going to show advanced settings, change this to text. Okay, and then let's just remap in the name, and then remap in the appointment date time. Okay. So what we're doing is, we're just formatting the date in a more user-friendly way so that when the user views your email, the date is not showed in like a format or 8601 format. So this will display the month, the day, and the year, and then also the time. And yeah, and then let's just map in the recipient. So email, and then also the name. Perfect. So now we have to send out a webhook response back to Vapi so that Vapi can let the user know that their appointment has been rescheduled and that an email has been sent out to them. So just to save time, I'm going to clone this module and then just change up this last message. Your appointment has been rescheduled and an email confirmation has been sent. Okay. So next step is we want to search for records. So pretty much we want to search for our customer in Airtable. So the reason why we have to search for customer is because we need to get the specific ID for that customer so that we can update the user's appointment date and time and also their status. So we're going to select search records. Base is customer appointment CRM, or whatever you named your workspace or your base. Table is customers, and then formula. So we want to get the specific user, right, for by their full name. So we can filter the search into Airtable or in our records by using these brackets, full name, and then close the bracket. And then inside the double quotes, we want to map the name that we're getting, that we're setting in the variable here. So we have full name. Make sure that what's inside these brackets is the same as what you have as your column name. All right, so now we can just limit this to 1. Save. And then let's rename this. Or actually, let's do search for customer. And then now, once we get the customer or we find the record, we can actually update the record, and we're going to update a record by its ID. That's why we have to search for the record in the first place. So base, customer appointment CRM, table, customers, and then the record ID, which will be from the previous module, which will be this. Okay, so now we want to update the appointment date and then also the status. So I'm going to change this to scheduled. And then this, we want to map in the rescheduled date time. And we can hit save. And we'll rename this. So this is going to be update customer status. Or actually, no, update appointment date and time. Okay, perfect. Okay, so now let's implement the cancel appointment path. So very similar to the reschedule appointment, we need to get a booking. So let's just clone this. I'm gonna remove this. And then also, let me just enter in the filter. So we want this to be cancel appointment. And then this is gonna be tool calls name is equal to cancel. Oops. Cancel appointment. Okay, so now we want to make another HTTP request, make an API key auth request. This time we want to use Cal.com's v1 booking cancellation URL endpoint. And here we can see has a method of delete, and we have this URL endpoint, and we need to dynamically map in again the ID so that we can reference the specific appointment that is assigned to that specific user. So we'll need to use the API key, and we'll also need to have the ID in the path parameters, which is right here, and then the query parameters we have API key, which will be already in the keychain, and then also a cancellation reason. And yeah, so that's what we have. So let's set that up. So we're going to copy this, go back, paste this, and then this ID. First, let's change this to type with the method of delete and change this to the v1 key. And then we also need this query string, and it's cancellation reason. I believe that's what it is. Cancellation reason. And then, yep. We'll just put as a value user requested cancellation. Yep, and then now we have to get a ID. So I'm just gonna get an appointment, a booking that we have. So run this module only. We have John Doe. Okay. Going to the data, and we have all these different appointments, but I believe the third item in the array will be the latest one. So let's see, June 9, 10 a.m. Yep, that's it. So we want to grab this ID. So go back into this module, let's map in the data. So it looks like it's not showing, and this is a common thing that happens. You want to make sure that you just save, go out, go back in, and then try to remap it. So go into data, and it's this right here, this ID. Okay, and that should be good to go. And also let's just parse response. Hit yes. Okay, so now let's try to delete an appointment. If I get this ID and then run this module only, so we have to add the ID in. Let's run it. Okay, success true. So now it has been canceled. Now let's clean it up. Let's rename it. So cal.com cancel. Okay. Next step is to send an email confirmation of their cancellation. So same thing, create and send a message. And then we'll map in the name. And then the body content. And then we'll add in the recipients, some name. Oh, whoops, nope. Map in the email, and then here is the name. And then we will save. And then also send another webhook response back to Vapi, letting them know that their appointment has been canceled and that an email confirmation has been sent to them. So we'll go in, we'll modify this. Your appointment has been canceled. And an email confirmation has been sent to you. So very similar to the reschedule steps, we're going to search for records once we can get that ID, and then we can update the record by its ID. So search for records. Base customer appointment CRM, customers table, and we're going to filter the search in the formula by, again, using full name, which is the title of our column. So that is equal to string, and inside we want to map in the name. We'll change the limit to 1. And let's rename this customer. That's what I named the other one. And then now, once we get and find that customer, we have the ID that we can reference. So now we're going to update a record by its ID. Right here, and then we want to update the appointment in the status. I'm just going to put canceled. Same thing for this one. Okay, so last few steps that we need to do before we can test out the AI assistant is we have to add some extra steps in our conditions here in the check availability, and then also in the reschedule and cancel appointment. So one thing that I've realized is that, originally we looked at it as if the array that we're getting from the bookable slots for that specific time that the user wants to book in for is empty, and then we know that the time is available. But when you create a lot of appointments and cancel them, such as what I've been doing with my name and email, when you try to get the times, it will still show appointments that are canceled. So we want to add an extra step in our filter to check in the data array, right, if the status contains canceled. Because if the status is canceled and then that time slot is available. So we're going to add an or, and then you want to first get a booking for a specific time, so you're getting data, and then you want to map in to the data array and grab the status contains canceled. All right, and then also be sure that you hit save. And then the next thing we want to add is an iterator in between the get a booking and the reschedule, and get a booking and the cancel booking. Same thing is because when you try to reschedule the booking, the way the scenario is going to run is, if I run this module only, just to show you what I mean. So if I go into the data, we're going to be given all these different items in the array. And what's going to happen is it's just going to go to this first one. It's going to get the ID, and then it's going to try to reschedule that appointment, but it's canceled. So if I go in, data, and I go into here, it has a status of canceled, and then it's going to throw errors because it's grabbing the irrelevant ID. So to make sure that it grabs the correct ID, we're going to add a iterator so that we can go through each booking. So we're going to iterate through the data array, and then we're going to add an extra filter. So I'm going to label this as relevant booking, and we want, from the iterator, we want the status to equal to accepted. This is going to make sure that we grab the most relevant booking that we want to reschedule for. So just to kind of walk through it again, so we're going to be given all these items in the array. The iterator is going to go into this one. It's going to check, hey, is status equal to accepted? It's not. It's going to go into the next one. Hey, is status equal to accepted? It's not. Once it finds the one that says accepted, and then it's going to move forward with that one, right? And then here we want to change this, because what this is doing is just grabbing the UID of the first item in the array, this UID. So we want to change that. We want to grab the UID that we're getting from the iterator. So we're going to delete this, and we want the ID to be this one, or actually it's the UID. So we want this from the iterator module. Okay, now we can hit save, and then here, same thing, unlink, add an iterator, and then hit save, and then we'll have to get we'll have to run this one. And then this is going to be okay, and then we're getting the data. We have all these items in the array, so now we want to map through that data array. Relevant booking, and then we want the status to be equal to accepted. And then in here, we want to change this so that it goes to the specific booking that the iterator is on that has the status of accepted. So we want the ID. Save. And then now it should be good to go to test it out.
Thanks for calling Quick Notary. This is Ava, an AI assistant. How can I help you?
Hi, I want to book an appointment, please.
Of course, I can help you with that. May I have your name, please?
My name is Quincy McCants.
Thank you, Quincy. What date and time would you like to book your appointment? Remember, we're open Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m.
Let's do June 9th for 2 p.m.
Great. Great choice. And which service would you like to book? We offer basic notarization, loan signing, and -9 verification.
Just a basic notarization, please.
Just a sec. Your requested time for a basic notarization on June 9th at 2 p.m. is available. Can I have your email address and phone number to complete the booking?
Yes, my email is quincyantsants@gmail.com.
Thank you. And what's your phone number?
My phone number is 123-456-1234.
One moment. Your appointment for a basic notarization on June 9th at 2 p.m. has been successfully booked. You'll receive an email confirmation shortly. Is there anything else I can assist you with today?
Nope, that's it. Thank you, bye. Okay, so now let's go to the CRM. And we can see I'm right here. So, yep, 2 p.m. scheduled.
Thanks for calling Quick Notary. This is Ava, an AI assistant. How can I help you?
Hi, I have an appointment with you guys that I would like to reschedule, please.
Of course, I can help you with that. May I have your name, please?
Quincy McCants.
Thank you, Quincy. Could you please provide me with the email address associated with your appointment?
Yes, it's QUINCYMCCANTS@gmail.com.
Got it. Now, could you please let me know your new desired date and time for the appointment?
Yeah, I would like to do June 9th for 1 p.m.
Give me a moment. Your appointment has been successfully rescheduled to June 9th at 1 p.m. You'll receive an email confirmation shortly. Is there anything else I can...
Okay, and then let's verify in our CRM. Okay, so it looks like it did go through. Now the time is not formatted, so we can just go back into our Airtable module and modify this, format it correctly so it goes in a more user-friendly way. But we can see that it went through and it has a rescheduled. So now I'm going to call up the AI assistant again. This time I'm going to request to cancel my appointment.
Thanks for calling Quick Notary. This is Ava, an AI assistant. How can I help you?
Hi, I have an appointment with you guys that I would like to cancel, please.
I can help you with that. Could I have your name, please?
Quincy McCants.
Thank you, Quincy. Could you please provide me with the email address associated with your appointment?
Yes, it's QUINCYMCCANTS@gmail.com.
Just a sec. Your appointment has been successfully canceled, Quincy. You should receive an email confirmation shortly.
Hey guys, good job for making it to the very end of the video. Hopefully you've been successfully able to create the booking system that can book appointments, reschedule, and also cancel appointments. And hopefully you came out the other side with more technical knowledge and skills on how to create events, update events, delete events through integrating with APIs. If you're able to build it out, awesome. Now you have a blueprint that you can showcase to your clients whenever you're on sales calls, or you can use it as a demo for your potential clients. Hopefully you found value out of this video, and if you haven't yet, please like, comment, and subscribe to stay up to date on my latest guides that I drop. With that said, I'll see you next time. Peace.